Swinging a high drive into center field. Hits at the wall. It is gone! Casas does it again. It's gone! It's into the bullpen! This game is tied!
He swings and rips one to center field. It's high, it's deep, it's back, it's gone! Sale winds, he fires. Swing and a miss, strike three, it's over! The Red Sox have won the World Championship!
Hey-o, welcome back to Play Tessie. It is episode 88. If you're listening on Drop Day, yep, it's July 1st. I'm here with virtual farmer Sammy, and I'm here with Joe, who's in for Pat. Episode 88 is the Manny Martinez episode. That's the bullpen coach, if you didn't know. Credit to Sammy for that one, because there's never been a player who's worn 88 in Red Sox history, but there is a Red Sox in the organization right now wearing 88, and we got to give him the love. This is the official podcast of the Dawn Entourage, also known as the official Red Sox podcast of WEI. Before we get going, remember, hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or the Odyssey app. Hit that subscribe button, rate us 5 stars. It helps us out a ton. You can check us out on YouTube on WEI's channel. We've got a Play Tessie playlist there. You can hit the thumbs up on those videos. That also helps us out a ton. Follow us on the socials at Play Tessie on both Twitter and Instagram. Got great content coming for you guys on there. As I said, here with the virtual farmer, Sammy, and Joe, who's in for Pat. Sox are 44-39 as of now, a step back series this weekend in which if you follow from the last game of the Blue Jays series and then the first 2 games of the Padres series, they lost those 3 games 29 by a run score of 29-7. So they had won 8 of 9. They had completely halted the momentum in those 3 games. And with an off day on Monday, or today if you're listening on Drop Day, I thought Sunday's game was a pretty important one for the Red Sox to get. You're going to Miami. The Marlins have played probably their best baseball of the season. It's still not amazing, but they have played probably their best baseball of the season of late. But they're not very good, and this is an opportunity for you to build momentum back. But I wouldn't, if you were the Red Sox and you lost this game, the next game's not till Tuesday. It would have been a full week from your last win. So I thought this was a pretty important game to win. It felt like they thought that as well, with them pulling Josh Winkowski before he hit 60 pitches in favor of getting the relievers some work. They got through the game, and they got it out with the win. So the Sox take 1 out of 3 in this series. But Sammy and Joe, I feel like the first place we should start is with a couple of emotional returns. Xander Bogaerts and Don Orsillo both in the house for a game for the first time since their departures. Don's been gone forever, but the Padres haven't been to Fenway since, I believe, 2013 was the last time they were at Fenway, and Don was still with the Red Sox then. So crazy to see him back. Crazy to see Bogey back. Sammy, what was it like for you to see those guys back at Fenway Park, and did you think the reception lived up to what it should be?
Well, I was really nervous after the underwhelming reception for Chris Sale in terms of how I thought the Bogarts reception would go, and I was pretty pleased with how it went. Sound like people were excited to see him. It looked, at least from the couch where I was watching, it looked like Xander was happy with the reception. Everyone was pleased. Red Sox fans, Padres fans, of which there were a lot. Not much to say about it. Well done, Red Sox fans. Well done.
Yeah, I agree. Same way. I think, you guys had concerns about Bogarts. I didn't. Absolutely not. I think the difference between Bogarts returning and Sale returning is that Bogarts is universally loved in Red Sox Nation. And I think the smart Red Sox fans would understand that they're more angry at ownership for not bringing him back, and just Sox weren't going to pay him the money after all. Orsillo, kind of a sneaky one. I was kind of more unbothered by it. It was kind of like just another thing for Orsillo, because it's just been so long. You know what I mean? Bogarts is more fresh. It's been 2 years for Bogarts. Orsillo, it's been almost 9 years, 8 or 9 years, something like that. So I guess Bogarts hit me a little more than Orsillo.
See, to me though, I like the Bogarts thing. I think they bungled it. Like, they should have extended him before his final season. He was ready to get extended. He wanted to stay. He would have done what it took to stay. If the Red Sox had just offered anything fair, he could have stayed. So I'm not saying they didn't bungle it. But the Orsillo thing to me was truly nonsensical. There was zero reason to move on from him. He was beloved in this town by these fans. He still is. If a broadcaster is still as beloved as he is, as you said, Joe, 8, 9, 10, whatever years it's been since Orsillo has been gone, I mean, they really messed that up. I want to read you guys a quote here. This is one from Sean McAdams' piece. He had talked to Don Orsillo. And I want to get your guys' take here. Don said, "I believe when you're fired from a team, you lose your allegiance to that team as far as caring whether they win or lose. That was part of the deal. If I'm out, so are they. I can't be a fan of someone who's not a fan of mine. You're going to like someone who despises you or replaces you? I couldn't do it. My allegiance had to end, especially when I went to another franchise where I'm invested. That fandom ended. Now my love for the Bruins, Celtics, and Patriots has not changed. They didn't fire me." So, Don,
Hell yeah. Yes. That's a New England guy right there. I love that. He's like, were we 5 minutes in? Yeah. He's like, fuck you, buddy. You fired me. I don't like you anymore. I'm not going to keep liking you. Good. No
good
complaints for me.
Good for Don, and understanding that it's not like he and I really wish that we knew the real reason why he was let go, fired, whatever. But I mean, good for him. He is a New Englander. He did not deserve. Say what?
Vermont?
I think so.
Vermont? Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But he didn't deserve to be fired. The broadcast, as much as I think it's a good broadcast, I think Don in San Diego is absolutely elite. That broadcast is so good, and it's like the trend completely changed the second Orsillo left. I felt like Nesson jumped ship right before the trend of electric home run calls and broadcasts that can be funny and charismatic and understanding that people don't have long attention spans. It felt like they let him go right before that got super popular. It's like good business people are supposed to sense trends before they start, and FSG jumped off ship at literally the worst possible time.
Classic. I got a question for you guys. I saw a lot of people online, which is not always a good indicator of the mass opinion, but saw a lot of people online saying they were excited for this series because they get to listen to Don Orsillo other than the Apple TV game. But that would imply that you're listening to the Padres broadcast. I think that's really weird, no matter how much you like the announcer, to listen to the other team's broadcast just to hear a different voice. But what do you guys think? Because I feel like my opinion might not be so popular on this one.
I would have done it. So I watched the first game from home, and I watched the second two from the park, so I didn't have a chance to listen to a Don Orsillo broadcast. But if I could have, I would have done it just to hear Don call a Red Sox game. Yeah,
you want to hear them talk, break down Padres things, and
yeah, it would have been different. But it's Don. You got how often am I going to get?
I would have given it maybe a half an inning or an inning just to hear that voice again. I wouldn't go the entire game though, because
I don't want to hear about who's that NPC player they had, Bryce Johnson or whatever. Bryce Johnson coming up from wherever we played to play ball. I don't care. I don't want to hear about Machado. If I hear about Machado, I want to hear this guy is the biggest piece of shit. I hate him. He sucks. Boston. I don't want to hear he's been heating up lately. He likes hitting at Fenway. Ugh. Yeah.
He got rightfully booed a lot at Fenway Park, which I liked. I liked seeing him booed because I'm glad that people will never forget that he ended Dustin Pedroia's career with that slide.
Yeah, you know what's really funny is we had the discussion a couple weeks ago about biggest villains in sports because it was relevant with Kyrie Irving in the NBA Finals. I think we forgot about Manny Machado and
because we never see him.
Yeah, he ranks on that villain list. He's done enough, I think, to warrant maybe a top 10 place. I forget the rankings off the top of my head, but I think he's got to have some serious consideration.
I think the bending of the knee in the 2018 World Series when he was with the Dodgers, I think that made a lot of people kind of get over it. Because with Kyrie, it was he left and then he kept going and then he talked shit in the media. He called us a cult. He were playing against him in the finals. Machado, it was he hurt Pedroia. Pedroia was still technically on the team in 2018. And then the Red Sox beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. And it ends with Machado literally dropping to a knee, striking out. So maybe that's why we don't think of him as much of a villain. It's we've won the war, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Before we talk a little bit of ball from this series, I do want to give my Don story from Saturday. So okay, I was with Rob. We had just finished the radio. We were going up. We were gonna eat, get a quick bite before the game started. So we sit down and we're sitting with Mark Loretta. If you remember Mark Loretta from the 06 Sox, the all-star Mark Loretta for 1 year. Him and Mark Grant, who, if you know, is Don Orsillo's broadcast partner. Great guy, very nice guy. Really like him on the broadcast. Him and Don are, as I said, awesome together. And they pulled up a fifth chair, and they did it when Don walked in the room to grab a bite. And I was like, and it was right next to me. So I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. I'm going to get to like talk to Don. Like, I'm so excited. Like, this is going to be amazing. And Don walks over with his, like, I don't know, he got some like steak and cheese something, walks over and is about to sit down. And like at the last second was like, you know what? I got like a few things I have to prep right before the game. I got to go eat this in the booth. And I was like, I was thinking in my head, I'm just like, no, don't go. Please don't go.
Talk to me, Don. Talk to me, Don.
I'm worthy of your time. I swear.
So yeah, that was my quote unquote. I don't know. I guess it wasn't really an interaction, but that was my experience with Don, almost. But let's get into this series a little bit. I mean, the first two games were, they were over not before they started, because they were both basically just like blown open like the third or fourth inning or whatever. But I do want to. We'll start with the first game, because Nick Pivetta threw 4 scoreless innings before coming out in the fifth, allowing 5 runs. And that was en route to a 9-run fifth inning, which was all the Padres scored that day, was the 9 runs in the fifth inning. But I'm going to read you guys Nick Pivetta's last 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 starts. All right. Dating back to May 25th. On May 25th, he went 3 1/3, 5 runs. Then he went 5 1/3, 2 runs, but he struck out 9. Then he went 7 shutout against Atlanta and struck out 9. We're feeling good. But then the Phillies come, 4 innings, 4 runs. Toronto, 7 innings, 3 runs, pretty good. But then the Reds, 4 1/3 innings, 3 runs, and this Padres won 4 innings, 5 runs. So he hasn't completed 5 innings in 3 out of his last 4 starts. This is a guy who is supposed to help you eat innings, save the pen. I feel like Nick Pivetta for a lot of this year was talked about, not that he was performing as well as Tanner Houck, but he was up there with Tanner Houck in like, I guess, sort of a stopper. Like, you can throw your bullpen a lot in the days before he pitches because he's going to save you the next start. You feel pretty good about your chance to win in Nick Pivetta's starts. But, he's not that right now. And I just want to know, I guess, concern levels. And we are leading into trade deadline season, and the team basically, and we can talk about Winkowski later, but the team basically is operating with 4 starters right now.
Concern level about what? About Pivetta or the rotation in general?
Pivetta.
I'm not concerned. This is kind of who I've always thought he is and would be. I'm not moving off of it. I think he's a mid to back end starting pitcher. Not great, not terrible, decent. Sometimes he'll look great because his stuff is electric, but sometimes he'll give up 3 home runs in 4 innings and he'll get shelled. It's just who he is. I think with a guy like Nick Pivetta, you have to be okay living with the highs and lows. And that's just as simple as it gets. There's not much to it. That's who he is.
Which I think is a little bit frustrating, because as a fan, you watch the games when he performs, when he goes 7 shut with 9 Ks against one of the best teams in baseball, one of the best offenses of the last few years. And you see that and you think that this is something he should be able to do every time out. And last year he did it for an extended stretch. You buy into it. And it's frustrating because if you look at the stats at the end of every single year, he always ends up leveling out to that same low to mid 4s ERA spot. It'll be interesting to see what his free agency looks like, but obviously that's a discussion for another day. I want to read you guys some innings things here, because obviously Nick Pivetta has thrown a lot of innings in the past, so I'm not really concerned about that with him. But Tanner Houck, he is at his career high for innings. He's at 107.2 innings. His career high before this year was 106. Cutter Crawford is at 92 2/3 innings. His career high is 129 129 1/3. So he is about 30 innings, like maybe 4 or 5 starts away from his career high. And if Nick Pivetta is not going to eat innings for you, then that's going to require a lot of pen work, because you're going to start to see, Tanner Houck struggled mightily in the second game. Feel free to speak up if I'm wrong here, but I don't think anyone here is all that concerned about him long-term from an effectiveness standpoint. But I am a little bit concerned that he's going to be asked to pretty much double his innings count. So, Joe, I'll go with you for the rotation as a whole. What's your concern level for the rotation as a whole, and how badly do you think they need to add another starter, or do they need to add 2 at the deadline?
For the rotation standpoint, I'm not overly concerned. Like, I would say my concern level maybe drops. Like, if it was at like a 4, it's at a 5. just considering these struggles. I look more at San Diego was just a better team, and Joe Castiglione on the radio said it so much. You just caught him at the wrong time, and even a guy like Tanner Houck, if he's getting roughed up by these Padres, then there's really no chance for anyone else out there. Like Sammy said, Pivetta is just consistently inconsistent, and you got to live with the waves. You got to live with being on this roller coaster of all the highs and lows. I would like to see them add another starter because I still ultimately believe, in my personal philosophy, that a playoff caliber rotation doesn't have an opener in its starting five. And maybe Winkowski can change all that if he's this quote unquote fifth starter. But I think they still need a little bit more insurance in that starting rotation, because you're going to have these moments with Pivetta. We got Brian Bayo, who's still going to struggle. You don't know if he's going to continue doing it as is. Tanner Houck is going to have his games where he's not going to be totally a shutdown ace. So it'd be nice to get at least another arm to add on to this rotation.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. I think they definitely need another starting pitcher. I won't go as far as saying they need two, but I would like a veteran starting pitcher. Don't get me wrong. I love what Crawford and Houck, and even Winkowski in his last two starts. I know the other one was back in May, but the two starts he's made recently-ish, he's looked good, but at some point we need some certainty. I don't think Houck is going to get any better. I think if there's any change, it's going to be in a negative way, and that's just because he's been so dominant up until this point. You can't really get much better than he's done. So I think we should all expect a step back from him. Bayo has been just a mess so far this year. We spoke about that last episode. He needs to be better. Crawford, I don't want to say it looks like he's running out of gas. That would be unfair, but he's taken a bit of a step back. Pivetta, we just spoke about, inconsistent. Criswell, who's not even with the team right now, he doesn't really go deep into games. The
good thing though, Sammy, is that Cutter pitched that game, that rained out game. So he only threw an inning and whatever he got out of the second inning.
True,
so I think I want to treat that sort of like they just kind of skipped his start. It feels like that's how they're treating it, because if they'd wanted to, they could have thrown him out there probably today on Sunday for the third game of the series and gotten away with it. But I like that they're giving him a little bit of rest, because as I'd said before, like he's getting close to that innings cap. I agree with you, Sammy. I don't think they need two starting pitchers, but adding one, I don't know that, like, obviously Winkowski, since his recall, he threw 6 innings, struck out 8, and that was a career high in relief against the Blue Jays. And then in this one today, in the third game of the series, 5 scoreless. Obviously, you feel good about that, but I don't think anyone is willing to say that Josh Winkowski is about to be a staple in this rotation or anything close to that. We have to see a lot more before we can get there. Obviously, they only have about a month to do it. So if you can add a starter there, it gives you a little bit of flexibility to maybe skip a start, push a start back. What they're doing with Bayo, they don't really have the flexibility. They only have the flexibility to do what they're doing with Bayo because they have an off day, and they had Josh Winkowski, who was able to step in. But if you got a real starter, you'd be able to do that with other guys. Skip a Tanner Houck start along the way at some point to help keep his innings just a little down.
Would you give Houck a quote-unquote upper body or lower body injury and give him 2 weeks off in the IL?
No, I wouldn't. I think that opens the door for you to struggle, and this team kind of needs not everything. This team needs close to everything to go right. But I would be down to push him and act. I don't want to say have a 6-man rotation, but maybe have a 6-man rotation for
Do a
2
bullpen
weeks.
game. Maybe you get. This is kind of tough. Maybe next time you get a deep start from somebody, next time someone goes 6-7 innings, pitches well, and you only need to use 1 or 2 relievers, maybe do a bullpen game sometime that week, give Houck an extra day, something like that. Because just the concern I have is not with the performance, it's the endurance. Not because he can't handle it, it's because he's never done it before. So we don't know how he's going to react. That would be my concern. It's not a big time panic concern, but it's one of those should probably address it at the deadline. And when we talk about adding a starting pitcher, we're not saying, who'd be the premier. We're not saying
Eric
go
Crochet.
get Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, we're not breaking the bank for it.
Right. Like a guy we spoke about last week, Quantrill, Eric Fetty, these guys who are solid, but they're not going to cost you an arm and a leg. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and like a guy that, it's not like, even though at some point when this Red Sox team is ready to win the World Series, they're going to need another guy up there at the top of the rotation with Houck. I don't think, as you said, we're not asking for that. We're asking a guy that's going to help you keep your arms fresh. I mean, right now they don't have a true number 5 starter. So
Right.
if you get a 5 starter here, that allows you to use Josh Winkowski and or Cooper Criswell in the roles that they should be used in, which is insert in X day to get guys an extra day. Because I agree, Sammy, the bullpen day, you could utilize it, but it just, you saw it the last time they utilized it to give a little bit of extra rest to the rotation. It taxed the guys, and that's why they had to go to Isaiah Campbell in the first game of the J series. And I know that game turned out well. They won the game, but Isaiah Campbell coming into that game blew it wide open, and that's just because the pen wasn't rested. So
maybe you get a guy like Keller, Brian Keller, see if he can give you 4. That'd be big, man.
What?
Keller. No,
Mitch?
Brad.
Oh, I thought you were talking about trading for Mitch Keller.
No. I'm saying give Keller a start. Is it Brian?
Okay.
Brad. Why can't I remember the guy?
Brad
Keller.
Brad Keller. Why not have him pitch? See if he can give you 4. That'd be big against you got Oakland and Miami coming up. Perfect. See if you can get to sneak away with Keller or even our guy Chase Anderson. Just to give these guys a rest. The rest of the rotation, it just seems like they're
you know what, Sammy?
Starting the process of running out of gas.
In this series, though, coming up, the guys do have Cutter Crawford through that one game. He's thrown 1 inning in the last 10 days. And then Bayo, they gave extra rest, pushing him back 3 or 4 days or whatever. So 2 of the 3 starters in the upcoming series, and we'll get into the series preview soon, but 2 of the 3 guys in that series are rested. The pen is, for the most part, rested. I think everyone in that pen, all of the leverage guys, have thrown just 1 game since that Sunday bullpen game. Actually, Jansen's thrown 2, but everyone else has thrown just 1 game since that Sunday bullpen game. They are in a good spot. They are in position to at least win the series against.
Yeah. I guess it's just Houck then. I guess it's just Houck that I'm concerned about, because you're right. Bayo got an extra day of rest. Crawford essentially threw a bullpen, a side session, and then 1 inning. So yeah, I mean, if I guess, let me rephrase that. I would like to see Houck get an extra day of rest. The other guys have already got. That would be nice.
And Cutter will need some maintenance down the road. This isn't going to be this 1 inning or this 10-day stretch or whatever isn't going to be enough to push him to the end of the season. We saw him wear down last year at the end. So you're going to need to work with him later, but I mean, at least you're working with him now. Quick question for you guys. I want to ask both. I'll start with you, Joe. Would you, if the Red Sox will say they trade for a starter, are you at the point where you would pick either Winkowski or Cooper Criswell over Brian Bayo to start games for the Red Sox?
Ooh, I don't think I'm there just yet. I think the thing with Bayo is, yes, he has struggled, but he's had plenty more performances where he can at least get out of trouble and get out of escape. The only issues that we're having is that he's not going deep enough. That's all you're looking for, because in these starts where he's only gone 5 innings, 6 innings, he's had his trouble, but it's just been because of the walks. And it's, as you guys have been saying about everyone being taxed, the bullpen and the rotation, all you're looking for is for him to go deep. He's got good stuff. It's just a matter of he always has guys on base while he's pitching. So I haven't even sniffed that option just yet.
I'm not there either, just because I don't we see Cooper Criswell throw. It's it kind of is just he nibbles around the corners, and then you get 4 innings from him, and then the bullpen has to eat the rest, and it's just not really sustainable. And Wink, I love what I've seen for the last couple of games. He did only strike out 1 in the 3rd game of the series, but I do like what I've seen, but I'm just not at the point where I'm willing to pull Bayo from the rotation. If he has a few more starts like he has, then maybe I can talk like that, but I'm not there yet. Sam, are you there yet?
No fucking way. That's crazy talk to me. Bayo, can you imagine? We just spoke all last week about how he's got kind of maturity, composure issues. Can you imagine now if you're hey, Brian, we're going with Cooper Criswell, a guy we got off the scrap heap for $1 million from Tampa instead of you, or we're going to go with Winkowski, this reliever, starter, hybrid over you, the pitcher that we're paying. I feel like that is opening such a can of worms, and it's such a bad message to send to your young guy. Hypothetically, I'm saying, if there were a situation where they chose to go with one of those guys over him, no chance. You have to ride Brian Bayo and hope that he can bounce back. That is the only path they can take.
Okay, then I have a follow-up before we move on to the next thing. If Brian Bayo, so his ERA right now is 5.55. If
Pretty cool.
if we get to the All-Star break and his ERA is like 6.3 because he just continues to get absolutely rocked, could your mind change?
If his
Or are
ERA
you riding this into the ground no matter what?
this ERA is like 6.5, then you got to be like, dude, you're not performing. But right now, as it stands, like he was, solid early in the season. He's hit a rut, and now we got to see if he can bounce back. If it go like if he's got a 7 ERA, all right, different
But like
story.
6.3, it like that's not inconceivable. If he has like 2 more starts in his next 4, like he did against Toronto, like it'll get there.
Yeah, but I think you IL him for a little bit. You give him like an extended rest.
I would
But
just option him.
Arm fatigue.
I would just option him. You don't even need to fake IL it. You just option him, give him a couple starts. I don't want to do
you
that.
can option him. That's not that
is
crazy.
That's not where I want to go. But if they're like 2 games up on a wild card spot, and then every time they throw Bayo out there, he's going 4 innings, 6 runs or whatever, like, yeah, at some point you got to take action. I think we're at least like 4 starts away from needing to do anything substantial, but like it's on the radar.
It would have to be ugly.
It would have to be 3. It would have to be like 3 more starts of what we saw against Toronto.
Right. And it would
seriously.
Yeah. And it would need to be like the same issues over and over. And he's just not correcting them, even though he's being instructed to. And he knows what the tools are. He's just not using them. It would have to be a very specific situation that would make me think, okay, he could actually benefit from facing lesser competition just to get in the rhythm. But right now, it's like we've seen him dominate major league talent. We just need to see him bounce back now. He's a kid.
Yep, it's about getting him back on track. I agree. I'm not there yet either, but it is on the radar. Before we move to the series preview with the Marlins, I do want to give a couple quick shout outs offensively. Rafi is an absolute monster. He has a 939 OPS for the season. I don't think anyone is really talking about how good of a year he's having, but just so you know, his career high for OPS is 916. So he's in the midst of the best offensive season that he's ever had. And it's being overshadowed by Jarren Duran, who rightfully is getting a lot of attention. Like he's had just an absolute monster season, hit a couple more home runs in this series. It's crazy. I think it's like he has 8 homers in his last 40 games after hitting just 1 in his first 43. But don't sleep on Rafi having the best offensive season of his career. Jose Ramirez is probably going to start the All-Star game at third base, but he has an 889 OPS compared to Rafi's 939. So Rafi deserves more love on the national level than he gets. He honestly probably deserves more love at the local level as well.
Is he underrated at this point?
Yes,
I feel like Devers, we're like almost underrating him at this. He's so good. He's a freak. Just because he's not, he hits a ton of doubles. And I feel like since he's not hitting 40 home runs, he doesn't get the same love, but he's a machine.
And he's been doing it longer than anyone else on the Sox. He's been the most dominant player in the last 5 years of the Red Sox. And this just creates an even trickier hole, I think, at least All-Star wise for the Sox, because I think we all agree Durant should absolutely go to the All-Star game. And we're also agreeing that Houck should go to the All-Star game. But Devers, like
he's making it, Joe. There's no chance. They're all 3 of those guys are 100% making the All-Star team.
What about Kenley? Kenley's like one of the best closers in baseball.
Kenley deserves it. Kenley deserves it, but there's so many relievers that deserve it, and I know he's a big name, and maybe he'll get it off of that too. But those 3 guys, like Devers, Houck,
they absolutely.
I would bet my life savings that all 3 of those guys will be in the All-Star game.
Yeah, they absolutely should. The only issue is we're not the ones selecting. It's the coaches and the players and the media. Like how much of that group actually recognizes, or will give the Sox a fair shake, because it's still like, what did you say, 43-39? Like, it's not the most stellar record if you want to have 3 All-Stars.
I agree, Joe. 3 All-Stars, it sounds like a lot, but there's just no argument. Like if those guys,
I'm on that boat. I want to see all 3. I'm just saying there's a lot that's working against them to make it happen.
I think
look at the
Wong might make it. What if Wong makes it over one of those guys just because catcher's kind of weak right now?
I think Wong deserves it, but like, and Wong and Kenley both like deserve it, but there's like literally 0 doubt in my mind that those other 3 are going to be in there. There's just no chance.
Sometimes I can't tell if you're saying Wong or Wong. You said Wong deserves it?
Connor Wong deserves it.
Okay.
But I'm not
one. I was
I'm
like,
not sure. Wong, I'm not sure about.
I thought you said one deserves it. Like one of the guys. I'm like, well, which one? Now
Devers, Houck, and Duran will be in the All-Star game. Joe, I will bet you any amount of money that all 3 of those guys make it, unless like someone gets hurt or whatever.
No hedging. No hedging.
Well, I can't fucking like if Devers loses a limb, like he's not gonna make the team.
Okay, fair. That's a wash. Then. I think 3. I think Wong and Jansen are gonna get screwed, and the only way they get in. Well, who's gonna make it for catcher? Adley and who?
They'll give it to like fucking Jeffers or some shit, or Salvador Perez.
Salvador
is a name.
Perez.
Like they're gonna do stupid shit like that. And you know what? If Wong does it again next year, then he can get it. But
ESPN baseball is gonna give it to Jose Trevino. All right.
Anyway, the other note I had is that Masahiro Yoshida has not had a very good season this year, but last 5 games, he's been hitting the ball hard. 6 for his last 16. It's a 375 average. He has a couple of doubles and a walk. Hit the ball hard and is out in his 4th at bat. He lined out hard to center. So like he's been hitting the ball better. Obviously need to see a ton more before I even remotely consider buying into him. But as I said in my tweet today, baby steps. Like let's build on that. Go to Miami. I'm about to tell you who they're throwing at the Red Sox in this series. You'll be interested to hear these names who I've never heard of 2 of them. So we could jump right into that if you guys want. Any last notes from you guys before we go preview it?
No, agree. Good signs from Yoshida. Need to see more, but baby steps, like you said.
Baby steps. All right, let's hit it. Marlins, they are 30-54. They've won 7 of their last 12, though. They split a 4-game series with the Phillies, but it is the 30-54 Marlins. All of their pitchers are hurt. We think of this team with all of these stellar pitchers, but like literally think of any of them. Like Alcantara, gone. Luzardo, gone. Edward Cabrera, I think he's coming back, but he's not there. Sixto Sanchez. Why are these guys coming to my mind? They have other guys. Braxton Garrett's hurt. Like, I'm forgetting someone legit in that rotation that's hurt. They're all hurt. None of them. Rogers is not hurt, and he's going in this series.
Your boy, Edward.
I said Edward.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Wait.
He's coming back. He's the least hurt of all these guys. I feel like all these guys are on the 60-day.
Sandy, Luzardo. All right,
yeah. They're not going to end up getting shit for Luzardo. It's too bad. They should have traded in the offseason to us. Yep. Actually, All right, First game. Valente Belozo or Beozo? I don't know. Valente Belozo?
Who the hell are these guys?
He made his MLB debut on June 26th. It's his only game ever. He went against the Royals, and he threw 5 shut with 2 strikeouts. So good for him. Royals are legit, and he shut him out through 5. He's going against Cutter Crawford, who's got a 3.59 ERA. He's coming off that 1 scoreless inning in that rained-out game against the Blue Jays. He should be more rested than he's been in a long time. So look for hopefully a good inning again for Cutter against the subpar Marlins offense. Second game, you got Trevor Rogers against Brian Bayo. Trevor Rogers has a 4.87 ERA, not as good as he once looked. This is a former All-Star we're talking about here. He's coming off 6 innings of 3-run ball, 4 strikeouts, but he did walk 4 against the Phillies. And Brian Bayo has a 5.55 ERA coming off his worst start of the season, 2 1/3, 7 runs against the Blue Jays. All of those runs came in the 3rd inning. Third game, another guy I've never heard of for the Marlins, Kyle Tyler. He's going up.
Kyle Tyler, dude.
Kyle.
Yeah, bro, and he's going against Nick Pivetta. Kyle Tyler has 10 career games, 2 career starts. He's thrown in 3 games this year. He has a 3.38 ERA. He's coming off 4 2/3 innings of 1-run ball and 4 strikeouts against the Phillies. So these random guys have like actually kind of pitched okay in incredibly limited data, but in the games they've thrown, it's been good. Going up against Nick Pivetta, he's got a 4.52 ERA coming off 4 innings of 5-run ball versus San Diego. That's crazy. I can't believe Pivetta's ERA is at 4.52. Hitters for the Marlins, they do not have a hitter with an 800 OPS or better. They actually don't have a hitter with a 750 OPS or better. Jazz Chisholm's been their best. He has a 747 OPS. Jazz Chisholm, a candidate for potentially the most overrated player in baseball. Brian De La Cruz is their only other hitter who has over 700 OPS. He has a 715. They traded Luis Arias, so you're not going to see him. We just saw him. Everyone else on the team below 700. You might know Josh Bell. He's got a 678 OPS for the year. More recently, my alter ego, Nick Gordon, he has a 900 OPS in his last 5 games. He has an 800 OPS in his last 11 games. So that's my dude. I was almost named Nick, so I would have been Nick Gordon, but I was not. So I'm not Nick Gordon. But let's get these predictions, Joe. I want to say none of us got any. I don't think anyone predicted 1 out of 3 this series, right?
I don't know. Let me go get the guy who actually did that. Oh, it's me. I was the one who predicted 2 out of 3.
You asshole.
So I was the only one that got a point. Gordo, you said that the Sox would win 2 out of 3 from the Padres. Same with Pat. He predicted the same way. Sammy, you thought they would get swept. You were close, though, but I was the one who got the point, although I'm still left in last place. So I'm still in last place with third. Third place is Pat with 4. Gordo in second with 5. And still atop the leaderboard is Sammy.
All right, so we can get this going. Pat sent in his pick. He is picking a Red Sox sweep. So mark it down. I'll go first in this one. It screams Red Sox sweep, but a lot has to go right for that to happen. I'm going to take 2 out of 3. I'll say they lose the middle one going up against Trevor Rogers, a lefty with Brian Bayo on the mound. Oh, I hope he's better. It's a make or break start, but we'll see. 2 out of 3. Sox take 2 out of 3. Sammy, I'll let you go second here. What do you got?
I'm right there with you. I do not like the middle game. I think the Sox sandwich the wins, the losses in the middle. A lot of NPCs on this Marlins team. They're on the road. Weird stuff happens. I think they just, you mentioned it, believe they split with the Phillies recently. So I don't know. I want to say sweep. I really, really do. But we'll go 2 out of 3. You can't be mad at 2 out of 3.
I'm not mad. No, if they take 2 out of 3, I think you'd have to be satisfied. Even though the Marlins stink, you can't ask for sweeps every time, certainly with a team that's like this team that's not dominant. Like the Red Sox are not dominant as good as they might be.
By the way, off day Monday, to go back to our pitcher conversation, that's good.
Yeah, that helps.
I'm not going to lie. I thought the series started tomorrow until you started going over the matchups. So,
which is why I'm picking the sweep. This is just what the doctor ordered here for the Sox. A really, really bad Marlins team to get back on track. This is ideal for Bayo, ideal for Pivetta to bounce back. Cutter getting a lot of rest. I think you've got the 3 absolute perfect pitchers to try and rebound it with, to give the fans and guys like the 3 of us a lot more confidence in this team. So it is going to be a Miami sweep, and hopefully they join up with the Celtics and party down there.
Hell yeah, Joe, I like it.
Is it a home game for Cutter, the Florida man from Okeechobee?
Ooh, good one. I was like thinking about that for like Crystal Bomb. I was like, oh, like who's from Miami? But no, yeah, I like that.
Wait, Okeechobee from Miami. Let's see how far
it's close. There's no chance.
It's only 130.2 miles away.
All right, come on, it's a homecoming.
So it's basically he's right in his own backyard.
Pretty much, yeah.
Minus 130 miles.
So complete game shut piece coming from Cutter. Well rested in a homecoming. I like it. Joe, Pat's not here, so you got to tell me what's the time for.
Oh, of course I have to fill in and do it exactly how Pat does. It is time for Crystal Bomb.
Bomb it.
Bomb it. So let's go to that old leaderboard there. We got 2 points this series. 2 guys got it right. One of them was Pat, who's not here to take his victory lap. He's correctly predicted Jarren Duran to go deep, and he went deep twice in this series. Went on Friday and on Sunday, so good for Pat. Sammy, you went with Thick Willie Abreu. That is a no. Gordo, everyone hates you for always getting it right, but you used your Rafael Devers pick. You got it right. You add on to your lead. And of course, with me, with Connor Wong, let's move on there back to the standings. Gordo still leads it with 13. Sammy's still in second with 9. Pat adds on, but he's still in third with 5. And then it's me in the basement still with 2. So Pat already submitted his pick. He's going with Tyler O'Neill in this series. He's picking O'Neill to go deep. Let's go to Sammy for Crystal Bomb. What say you?
All right, so I can't do Thick Willie and I can't do Devers because I picked him 2 weeks ago. I'm going to go with Jarren Duran. Not much power early on, but lately he's been hitting home runs. Hit one today on Sunday as we record. Only got like 5 feet off the ground and still made it into the seats. Absolute fucking piss missile. I'm going to go Jarren Duran. And it's great because he's definitely going to play all 3 games, barring something crazy. So I'll get a lot of chances. Make me proud. Hungry like the wolf.
All right, Duran, send one out. Let's go to Gordo on this one. What's the leaderboard going to say?
Just a quick thought on Thick Willie, because I considered picking him here, but he hasn't homered since his return from the IL, but he was 2 for his first 16, obviously struggled coming off, but then his last 2 games, he is 4 for his last 6. So maybe Willier will get someone on the board, but it's not going to be me this week because I have a unique pick here. I'm going to go with Masahiro Yoshida. He's back where he had a really good World Baseball Classic, hit bombs in that Marlins park. It's going to bring back good memories. He's been hitting the ball better. Oh, please make me look like a genius, Masa. We're going Yoshida.
All right. Well, just so you know, I did try that and it didn't work. So,
But it's going to work for me.
I will be so mad if that actually does work for you. I'm going to be so mad. I need to get out from the basement, so I need a surefire thing. I need Rafael Devers to send it deep for me. The dude is absolutely cooking with gas right now, and forget all the waiting for the right series, waiting for the right time. Let's just get it done right now, Rafi. Send one out and down in South Beach.
I love it. Good stuff from you guys. We'll give Willier a series to hit a home run, and then he'll get picked next series. But Sammy, what do we got going on, baby? Final segment.
No losing, only winning here. Everyone's favorite segment. It's time for guys being dudes, and we got a new team loaded up, the Marlins. Everyone loves the Marlins. Huge fan base, one of the most popular teams of all time in any sport. So I'm going to need a player who played for both the Boston Red Sox and the Miami/Florida Marlins. Joe, why don't you get us started?
Oh, yeah, bro. Okay. I'm eliminating the most obvious ones off the bat. Josh Beckett, Mike Lowell, getting them out of the way.
No Hanley.
Yeah, Hanley, all those, all the obvious ones. I'll go with someone who maybe wasn't a predominant Marlin, but did spend some time in Florida and in Boston. You guys remember Edward Mujica?
Eddie Music.
I was so excited when they signed him.
Number 54 on the Sox, number 1 in your hearts. Part of the very last Florida Marlins team and the very first Miami Marlins team. Spent time in 11 and the first part of 2012. You know, we went 9-6 as a reliever in 67 games in 2011. I have no idea. I have no idea about that at all, but he had a 3.44 ERA in his season and a half with Florida. He was traded to the Cardinals, spent some time the rest of 2012, and was an all-star in 2013 as their closer for the Cardinals. Of course, part of the 13 Cardinals team that the Sox beat in the World Series. Then he goes and signs with the Sox, spent a season and a half in Boston, went 3-5, 4.03 ERA, lasted until 2018, I'm going to say. So, Edward Mujica.
Got a ring. Gordo, who you got, dude?
I'm going to go with someone who also got a ring with the Red Sox. That's going to be Junichi Tazawa, who is the owner of one of the greatest walk-in songs in Red Sox history. But
Mogera no Uta.
Yeah, I know the words to the chorus. I can sing it.
Dude, it's in Japanese. I'd love to hear it. Do it right now.
I'll do it for you one day. I got to have the tune in the back. I don't know if I could do it without the tune.
Oh, shit.
But Tazawa,
you can't acapella.
Yeah,
I'll prove it to you.
I don't believe you one bit. It's literally in Japanese.
I know, dude. I spent a lot of time learning it. Like, I put a lot of effort into it.
Okay.
Tazawa, he had a 1.43 ERA in 37 games in 2012, and then was a pretty crucial part of the 2013 team. Had a 3.16 in 71 games. He threw 71 games in back-to-back seasons in 13 and 14, which kind of killed him because he was never really the same after that. Signs after 2016, he signs a 2-year, $12 million deal with the Marlins and was straight up awful for them. So yeah, make sure your relievers are fresh. You don't want to sign these guys who've got a lot of mileage on their arms out of the bullpen. But I loved Tazawa, big fan.
Junichi, yeah, he was really underrated for the Red Sox. A cool delivery too. And speaking of guys who look cool on the field despite performance, I'm gonna go with Mike Aviles. And I'm not going to read you his Red Sox stats because they're very mediocre. Same with his Marlins stats. The only thing you need to know about Mike Aviles is that batting stance was insane. How do I describe this to listeners? He would basically hold the bat out in front of him and just make little circles above his head. And the pitch would come in, he'd stop and swing. No clue if it was functional, if it was a comfort thing. Not a clue, but I love guys with bizarre batting stances. Mike Aviles, his was certainly bizarre. That's my pick.
He also had the most jacked calves in Red Sox history. So note that.
More than Varitek?
More than Varitek.
Vertex
I'm
more of a
telling you.
thighs guy, I guess. Yeah, you're right. All right.
Well, on that note, that's going to do it for Play Tessie episode 88. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Before you go on to something else, remember, hit that subscribe button. Whether you're on Apple, Spotify, or the Odyssey app, hit the subscribe button, rate us 5 stars. Helps us out a ton. Check us out on YouTube. We're on the WEI channel. You can find our videos on the Play Tessie playlist. Hit that thumbs up button. That also helps us out a ton. Remember, check us out on the socials at Play Tessie on both Twitter and Instagram. We've got great stuff coming for you guys there. Every series is a big series with us, but big series coming up with the Marlins. Good stuff. Enjoy your off day on Monday, but appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.